what you are seeing is my FreeNAS server. Hope you can see here. Let me little zoom out. Yes, so you can see it has two RAID ZFS pools. I created with the RAID Z2 pools. These are, so I can afford getting two failed disks, but still the data will be fine. But by the time the second drive gets corrupt or gets expired, then I am supposed to change. So you can see here one of the pool has this degraded state, and you can open here and it says that it has degraded because it has one of the drive which is failed. So a few months back I shot a video. You can see there I posted in my FreeBSD channel, and it's about I am trying to revive that disk. I just tried my best if I can do something where I can keep it moving, because it is has issue like head getting struck and stuff like that. But I don't want to do any sort of professional recovery type of thing. I just tried my best if I can do something, and it looks like it has an issue. So anyway, this drive it came up to 5 years. I generally keep a log of all my hard disks. As you can see, this is my Toshiba 2 TB drive, and this came up to 5 years and 7 months and 20 days. So I can just enter in the database, and things will be worked out automatic. So today I got a new 2 TB drive just got delivered. I did of course did some tests, and kept it back in this pouch. I got it in Amazon. Let me keep this away. So this is a Seagate 2 TB drive. I usually don't buy this NAS hard disks, and even once I have bought a NAS hard drive, it came it has some issue out of box. So it's just it's fine, because I don't turn on my NAS server all the time. So in my use case it is fine, but of course you can consider always getting Seagate NAS or Western Digital RAID drives, of course. So this is the drive which it came. As you see, I just opened and even I weighed. It came around 390 grams, something like that. I just did some quick check. So the reason I check is, since it is a DIY server and it has already 10 hard disks, weight is an important factor. So I generally do some tests and check how much it may overall weigh. Yeah, it came up to 390 grams. Yes, so it's around 390 grams. So which is much better than that Toshiba drive, because it looks like it has two platters. I think so, it has two platters. When I opened, I have seen it has a bunch of platters, but this has a much thinner profile. Hope you can see here, it has much thinner profile. See, I have a roadmap in the future. As the SSD gets cheaper and cheaper, I may replace any failing drives with SSD drives, which is why I don't want to put lot of capital expenditure, capex. I'm converting that capex into sort of an opex kind of thing. So hence this works out. I'm not interested getting in any dedicated NAS hard disk either, because I just don't turn on my server all the time. So you can see there, if you go to the storage and disks, that disk, failed disk or the expired disk, I have disconnected that SATA and power connections, so it won't be listed here. So you can see there only 9 drives are listed, and then my boot pool, which is that USB drive. You can see that this is a Kingston USB drive, and other than that it has 9 drives. So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 drives. So I am supposed to put this, and then once it gets populated here, we can start assigning it for that missing pool. Okay, see, you can see there it shows as degraded, and even this alerts it shows as degraded. So what we do is we can do a quick shutdown, and then I can open my server. Since it's a DIY server, it is not any hard swap or something. I have to manually take the screws, and I need to pull that drive out, and then carefully put this back in. So let me shut down this and then start that See, these things are quite I was doing often when I was doing some VM tests. I did had a huge VM setup with all VM virtual hard drives, and I was playing around simulating various scenarios. So it is a learning curve I got because of doing things like that, because once I get a real production server, things you can't do much often. So if you are interested, you can have some sort of a VM setup, not for production use, just to play around, and then you can get familiarized in case if there are any failing drives and stuff like that. This is my server. The reason I bought this case is I found various Cooler Masters. It doesn't have that provision to put many hard drives. Okay, that is one of my purchase criteria. So this thing, if you notice, it has something like this. See, it has a chassis build like this. I can put 4 drives, and I have bunch of laptop drives. If something happens to them, I am going to replace them with directly SSDs, because I can't put any thin spindle drives inside this sort of compact thing. I think this bay is meant for floppy disks or something. So that is what it is. And other than that, I have this regular CD drive kind of slots, which I can put around 4 of them. So this chassis, this thing is a very cheap brand called Circle or something. So what I did is I removed its the SMPS which came, or the power supply which came with the chassis, and instead I put this Cooler Master 450 watt power supply, so that this should be more reliable than what it came with. But the chassis is little lightweight, and even some places you may feel flimsy, but this works out because now I can push everything in this way, and I can neatly organize. So you can see there the drive in question is this top one. Let me shoot with my smartphone. So you can see there, this is the drive we are supposed to remove. See, one advantage and by the way, you can see all my other drives, and this is my boot USB drive, and you can see I have put these extra SATA HBAs, so that 6 I get from these, and then 4 I get from the motherboard, so which is over there. So I neatly organized the cables, but although it looks chaotic, all the cables are tied up and it is neatly organized. So it's quite easy if something I need to maintain or something, although it looks like this, it is quite relatively easy. So this is the drive which I am supposed to remove. See, one more advantage I get in this server is it's quite easy to remove this front cover. Okay, I have not removed this plastic sheet, because it just prevents some extra dust falling inside. Okay, because the way my home is, I do get lot of lint type dust, so I just want to prevent it. Of course, there are other air holes which I have taken care of. Okay, so you can see there, this is what it is, and this is the drive which I am supposed to remove. It's quite easy to access. I can remove that panel, and then I can take it out. Since it is not connected this thing, it is quite easy to remove. And also I have this sort of adapter. So you can see there, this adapter is there. I need to put the new drive in that adapter, and then I can push it inside, and then put the screws back in. As you see here, this is the Toshiba hard drive, and you can see there it is lot thicker, and it is this form factor versus this. Okay, so you can see there side by side, we can compare. It's lot thicker. So it has two spinning discs. So this is the adapter which I got in Amazon, so that you can put any laptop hard drives or SSDs, or the regular hard disks, and you can mount them onto this, and this you can mount it into that DVD drive. So it's fairly cheap and inexpensive versus this IO cage options. And on top, if you want to buy an IO cage this thing in India, like even they have this hot swap cages and other stuff, which you can fit exactly in a bay like this. The issue is they put extensive tax. It is far more cheaper in US, and bring it as a baggage. If I travel there, I do happen to get some hardware when I went long back, but it doesn't make sense to buy in India. It is extremely expensive, and moreover, I am not a big fan of hot swap because I had some bad experience, which I had some bunch of hot swap bays in my Cooler Master PC bay. It had some loose connection, some issue is there. So I'm not that much of a big fan of hot swap either. So this is, works out fine because it's just a home server. It's not even Soho or something like that. Okay, so it is still fine. You can see there I taken it out. Let me quickly weigh. I am just intrigued the size of this. I need to find out how much it weighs. Okay, because my main goal is sometime down the lane I want to cut down the total weight in this type of a DIY server build also. I am saying the fully populated one with all the drives and everything together. So we weigh this and we see how much this weighs. So let me grab my scale. So this is my weighing scale, and of course I can't show in front of the camera. This thing, this thing weighs around 636 or 637 grams. So let me make a small note of it, because I want to populate. I generally populate these things in my log. So I can just populate about it. 637 grams Toshiba 2TB failed drive, 637 grams. So we can see that the new one is just around 390 grams. So we are saving a lot of weight after we remove and replace this failed one with that new one. So this thing is a 2014 drive, and I think I purchased around December or something like that. So it is October 2014 manufactured, and I think I started using it from 2015 roughly in that timeline. I mean to say 14 December. So it's around 2015 onwards. So I bought it for my Netgear NAS. It worked fine, but I am not. That's why I am not a big fan of other brands other than Seagate and Western Digital. Of course, I do have one Toshiba hard disk. It came with my laptop, which I am using here. Okay. So anyway, we put back. We put this new one into that adapter. So I am just seeing how I can line this. Yeah, this goes like this, and let me clean this with a small piece of cloth. I can see some mild dust over there. Yeah, that's it. We need to put in some orientation like this. We can put this way, we can put this way, and you can see that the bottom you can install this laptop hard drive. So this thing I am using some adapter which came with my Cooler Master PC. So it is interesting. I can put back to back two 2.5 or 2/4 the laptop hard disks. In this also we can put. They have given a provision where you can put a bunch of them or something like this. So in this way, or I think even in top somewhere you can mount. I have seen the product pictures in Amazon. So I think you can able to put something side by side, one over here, one over here, which is why I am saying once I replace these drives with SSDs in the future, I may make it more compact, and each slot can take up to 2 SSDs. So it is going to save lot of room. Hence I am saying that is my roadmap. This is just it's an attempt to convert into an OPEX, so that I don't put lot of capital expenditure, and I am not a big fan of dedicated this thing dedicated NAS hard drives either. With my use case, with my type of a use case, which I do not power these machines for a long time. So, which is perfectly fine as long as you know your type of workloads. Okay. So, let me put this. So, I am putting it, I am putting these screws underneath. There is no option to put it sideways, there is nothing connecting in the sideways. So, I am putting underneath, I am putting some bunch of screws, so that it is secure. And make sure if you have any NAS setup, just make sure you firmly mount all the drives, okay, especially a DIY setup like this. And this is why any vibration can damage your disks, and it can shorten the lifespan of your spinning drives. Of course, it is not an issue with SSDs, but as long as these are spinning drives, you need to make sure it is all mounted properly. So, you can see there it is mounted. I put for now 3 screws, it should be more than enough, and it is nice. It is really lightweight, and and these things are, by the way, these are Western Digital 1 TB drives. As you see, these are much thicker than this. Okay, so even this is little heavier, but not as heavy as this Toshiba drive. Even by holding it, I really feel very heavy in the hand. So, let me put this back and connect it. I can even do one thing. Even before putting, I can, is it this cable comes out? Yeah, I can connect it and then push it backward. Yeah, you do not need to deal if you have some hot swap mount, but again I am not that much of a fan of it, because it needs that extra circuitry, and something can go wrong even in that type of build. Yeah, let me see if this SATA cable I can pull and connect it here directly. Yeah, this comes like this, and yes, see, some SATA cables have a latch like stuff. What happens is they just latch on. You can, hopefully you can see here. So, I just connected, both of them are secure now. So, all it is a matter of pushing this inside and putting back bunch of screws. The one thing I did not like about this adapter is the way you put the screws. It looks flimsy, but it works fine, but I am not sure how far it is secure. Okay. See, once you put these cables and then put this back, it is lot more easy. Otherwise, once you install and then try to put cables, especially this top one is quite hard, because it is hard to reach over there. See, I just mounted this. See, one thing, make sure, of course I can put this back, but one thing you can make sure, whenever you do some build, make sure all this drives are not moving freely. See, you can wiggle, and you can make sure that it is secure, and it is not kind of having any type of loose movements, and these movements is going to contribute to excess vibration when you turn on the server, and it will lead to excess noise and things like that. So, this is one reason I am not that fan of those slots, and then you put the hot swap stuff in the servers. Generally, they tend to have more vibration, because you are not actually securing it. The thing which you insert is may have some may lead to some vibration. Okay, of course, it depends on the build quality and stuff like that. I am not saying all it is going to be flimsy like that, but I am still saying there is a room for error. See, this fan, by the way, it can push, it pushes the air inside for these bunch of drives. For these drives, that is why I just mounted a fan in this way. So, let me put this back and show you. So, there are no screws for this panel. You just hit like this and it gets into its place. So, you can see there is this fan. So, this fan, of course, there is this CPU fan over here. This is an AMD Ryzen processor. So, this fan is adequate to cool some of these drives in the top bay, and since there are some vent holes of that panel, it can take fresh air and then it can blow around. So, this way it's kind of taken care, and this fan should work like an exhaust. So, all that hot air it can pump out, so the air moves in this direction. So, naturally the air should come here, or air should go here through this type of panel vent holes. See, this is the front panel, this is the front panel. So, if I put this, it won't align exactly over here, but it will align more or less to that CPU fan. So, it takes the air here and it can exhaust through this fan. So, that is what it is. So, I check the temperature, generally it does not get much hotter, around 40 degrees or something, the drive temperature. So, which is perfectly fine. So, we put this panel and everything back, and we power it up and see from there how we can install it in that ZFS pool. See, I powered the server, we are back up and running again. We can refresh its UI, go here, and yes. So, we got it back. So, we try adding that drive into this thing, and then we can do resilvering. Okay, drive unavailable. So, is that something I can do here? Yes, you can see there it shows the drive unavailable. I can do this replace operation. I can do this, and hopefully it should show that new one. Okay, this is the one, and I should say member disk. Before that I want to confirm, before that I want to confirm, okay, I can go inside this storage drives or disks, and you should see there ADA1 is that empty slot. So, if you want, optionally you can add some description and stuff like that. So, we can go here, edit, and we can see some options. I can make the options same as the other ones. See, you can see there always on, hard disk standby 5, and average power management we can make, and acoustic level also we can make it as minimum, so that it is not aggressive. So, we change these settings. Average power management, this is always on, instead it is 5, acoustic level is minimum, and we save this. The other one I can check, advanced power management, is it what level, or is it, yeah, it should be just turned up to the value 1. So, we go there and we change this to this value 1. So, minimum power usage with standby spin down, which is fine for my use case again. Okay. So, you need to check that criteria. So, yeah, you can see there the RPM is 5425, and one thing I noticed, this drive is giving me up to 171 megabytes per second speeds when I tested with HD Palm. Okay. So, this versus the one which is gone, which is this Toshiba drive, it is around 162.72 when I calibrated. Okay. So, as you see here, the weight is not populated. I can just populate in the database, and then I can of course compare with this. So, the weight whatever I put is not right of which corresponds to this Seagate drive, because this I pulled from that Seagate website specs, but maybe they are putting the weight with that packaging whatever it came with, I am not sure, but the drive alone is just weighing around 390 grams. Okay. So, this is the drive. Now, we are sure, all I need to do is put a name, so that it is quite easy to understand. Okay. So, this is a Seagate 2 TB drive. So, we go back again, edit, and description we can put Seagate 2 TB drive. I am putting in this short form, so that it can show all the entries in that list. See, you can see there So if you put something a long name, it will be hidden, and then you need to expand this and you need to see. Hence I am putting in this short form. So we know that this is ADA1, and now we can go ahead and do that replacement as it is suggesting here, because I just don't want to mess around and do something. I just want to put this drive and then do a smooth transition. Okay, so we can do this replace disk. I am not sure about this force, I don't want to select that. I can do this. I formatted once I got this disk, I formatted with ext4 and did some tests. Okay, hence I got these figures. Okay, I did some tests and seen that is it all working fine and stuff like that. So now we can format and then we can install it. So the resilvering, one thing I like, yeah, you can see there it is showing as replacing disk, which means it started rebuilding that RAID. So one thing I like about ZFS is yeah, you see there and we can able to see this resilver status. Okay, over here you can also do an SSH to this server, SSH Kiran at Titan NAS, and we should able to give commands and we can figure it out. I have written some scripts, big pool, this is in big pool utilities. I have written some small scripts. See, I can do this HDD to DB2 and I can run the script and it shows me all this power on hours and stuff. This is that Seagate drive, the new one. It shows as a 0 power on hours. I powered it up for around 15 minutes or so. So it will increment soon. Okay. So I can do this ZFS commands like scripts like this, which I wrote because I don't remember all the time. See, z pool status minus v big pool. I can do that, or I can use the script dot slash z pool status, and it should show the status. You can see resilvering and all. It is already 1% done. Okay, 1.47, 1.57. So it should get over soon. One of the main advantages of ZFS versus my Netgear is which is Btrfs based, is that if there is any power failure or some interruption, you can just shut down the server, you can reboot, and then it will it will carry forward, it will continue from there. Okay, you don't need to do entire resilvering once again, so it will continue from there. It is not something that possible with my Netgear. Okay, so which is the reason I have moved on to FreeNAS. Okay, this is the main reason I moved on to FreeNAS, because it gives me all these options. Okay, I can restore, definitely I can restore. If there is a power failure, I can just shut down the server. It will pause this, it will stop this resilvering. Once I turn on, it will continue from there. So we can see the status here. You can see there 3%, which Chris or someone from FreeNAS told me because I'm not sure where I can check the status in UI. Then someone from FreeNAS, when I just asked them or something, there was a conversation. Then they told you can just do this and you will find get that status. This thing I can just type this command alone if I want z pool status minus v big pool, and you can see there, and I can even do some grep resilver something like that, and I can get those bunch of lines alone. So you can see there 3.7, 3.8, the progress. So I believe it may take around a bunch of hours. It should be done. It is, I think it is doing almost a minute a percentage. So sometimes Btrfs has a tendency, it will accelerate after a while, and then it will make things faster. Initially it may be slow. I'm not sure how it works out, but as far as ZFS is concerned, or FreeNAS, it's quite linear. Okay, it's going to continue in the same pace and it will complete. And if you reboot, it will continue, or it will restore and it will continue from that percentage onwards. So you don't need to worry much. Okay. So already 5% is over, 95% is yet to go. So hope you can see these are this thing. These are the disks. Let's see here, we can see these are the disks, and what I suggest is, if you are I do get some queries about building DIY NAS. I suggest plan initially that how many pools you can create. The reason I created a bunch of pools like this is, see, the advantage is you don't need to resilver the whole huge pool, okay, and also it gives an option for me to do a quick upgrade. See, in this big pool, one drive is 2 TB, the other drives are 1 TB, which means this new 2 TB drive I am not fully utilizing its capacity. So if I replace next those 4 drives, I can fully upgrade this big pool, okay. So this advantage I get. Let's assume I have created a Z2 or RAID Z2 pool, a single pool with all 10 drives. Now I have to upgrade all the 10 drives from 1 TB to 2 TB, and then finally I can upgrade and expand its capacity. And moreover, you need to select that option to do that auto expansion. It won't happen automatically, although I think it has been set default to auto expand. I'm not sure. You should be able to go here, pool somewhere, and you should be able to check some options. I'm not sure where you will find it out. Somewhere there is an option where you can do that, okay. Snapshots, yeah, these are various snapshots, and disks is this. Yeah, so that's the thing. And other advantage you got also is, if something happens to this motherboard or something like that, I just can take all these drives and I can put them in any order in the SATA ports, and it will just work seamless. And that's why we go for ZFS file system, because it's very easy to manage. You don't need to fiddle around with any host bus adapters and hardware RAID and things like that. It is a software defined storage. This is one of the examples of software defined storage, just like we have software defined networking these days. We are back. As you see here, the resilvering is over, and there is no more alerts as such. And I just rebooted to check everything is fine, okay. So you should be able to see the pools and stuff like that. It all shows healthy and online. So that's all. This way, if you get it back, it is fine, but sometimes be very careful whenever you replace a brand new drive. Sometimes it may fail right out of box, which is what we call it as a dead on arrival, DOA. So that way I had this Seagate NAS drive, 4 TB or something. You can see there, one of that is like a dead on arrival. So right out of box it never worked, and I have to send back to Amazon, and I got, of course, a refund. But this is what. So I just checked the weight difference between this and that. It is almost a quarter kilo of difference, which is good. You can see there. See, the thing is, I have bunch of SSDs. You can see there the this Transcend 128 GB. I weighed, it is around 42 grams. Versus I have this mSATA SSD, which is just around 4 to 5 grams. Okay, it is that lightweight. So you can imagine, if we replace all these 10 drives with SSDs, which is that laptop form factor, 2.5 inch, something like that. So it should be around 50 grams. We put into 10 times, it should be around half a kilo. Okay, so that much we will get weight reduction. So it means it's just hardly weight of just one single drive. So that much we can save. We can reduce the weight and the overall noise and overall vibration and stuff. So that's what is the roadmap. But I want something like a 2 TB, somewhere like $100 price. Currently it's around $200 or $300 in India, approximately 18,000 19,000 Indian rupees. Some are even 20 plus thousand, which is close to $400. 6 4s are 24. Yeah, it is close to $350 to $400, which is ridiculous. Okay, we need something like $100 and we need even 1 TBs, which is supposed to be close to $50-60 equivalent. So right now I'm seeing in Amazon some are at 8,000, some are at 9,000, some are even at 10-11,000, which is almost 150 to 160, 170, even up to close to $200 range, which is ridiculous. Okay, so it doesn't make sense getting something like that, for NAS like situation. So I'm just seeing, but if something goes wrong, next time perhaps if there is any 1 TB drive gets corrupt, I may replace as it is with 1 TB SSD drive, but I need to make sure I don't get this 960 GB ones. Okay, so if there is any storage space is lacking, I'm not sure how FreeNAS is going to accept that. Okay, so I'm not ready for that, but this is a nice progress. You can see there it's finally done. I just of course I can use even without that drive. I was using that for quite a long time, but this is what you can do. So if you are having any weird issues, or if you are having anything, if you want to discuss, feel free to discuss. Okay, it is not always easy to discuss in YouTube comments. Perhaps you can discuss in case you want to share some screenshots, or get my inputs or get my opinion. You can send freely a mail as well, so that we can have a chat. If I have to give any inputs, or I have to send my screenshot or server status, I can do that, so that you can recheck before you attempt doing something. In case if you get this thing, I do get sometimes mails, someone is having similarly like my Netgear, they had some issue, and it is not anymore mounting any of those drives, so that volume is not getting identified, and he was little panicked and he someone just sent a mail, and at that time I was in a hospital. I told that I'll get back, but things like that is quite common. Okay, so you can discuss in the FreeNAS forums. If you have Netgear, you can discuss in the Netgear forums. I believe Steve or someone is active member in Netgear forums. Same way FreeNAS forums, I have seen bunch of guys who are the main active guys who does lot of free support. So you can even reach them. But this is how you can replace a failed drive. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be in touch. Thanks a lot for joining me. Stay tuned. Have a nice day. Bye bye.